All right. I think we're going to get started here. Thank you to everyone for joining. This is obviously the Salesforce webinar for Yext, where we're going to be going through all of the new exciting app updates that we've made as part of our V2 Salesforce integration. Ali, I'll pass it over to you to get started.
Cool. Hi, everyone. I am Ali Allegra. I am on the Solutions Product Marketing team here at Yext, and Henry is on the Solutions Product Management team. And of course, he is the one who is responsible for all the great new features we have with our app that we're excited to share with you today. So the bulk of this webinar will cover all of the new features that we've released, but I want to also quickly take some time to refresh everyone on the support-related use cases that our app supports, and then of course at the end we'll leave a little time at the end to close out with Q&A. But first, for those of you that are new, I want to give a very, very quick recap about what our app solution provides at a high level. So our app's secret sauce, so to speak, is based on Yext Search. Again, in the interest of time, I don't want to dwell on this because we have actually many hitchhiker webinars that go over the very specific ways that Yext Search is differentiated as a product in the market. But I did want to highlight a few things because when it comes to Salesforce's native search specifically, this is where we see that we can add the most value. So our foremost value add to Salesforce is our ability to deliver direct answers, like you see here in this screenshot. Not blue links or large portions of text, just plain and simple direct answers. And this is made possible through our extractive QA algorithm, which makes our search abilities so unique for support use cases specifically. So think about when you're searching for long documents like help articles, it isn't enough to just show the right link to the right document because the answer could be buried somewhere on page 30. You have to show the part of the document that answers the question directly. So our extractive QA algorithm does exactly that. It searches unstructured data that comes in the form of help articles, product manuals, blog posts, videos, kind of you name it, and then returns direct answers in the form of featured snippets or step-by-step lists or traditional knowledge cards, just like Google. So it really allows you to get the answer to your question as a user without having to comb through a long portion of text or having to submit a ticket just to get the answer you're seeking. And because of our myriad out-of-the-box machine learning features and the fact that we do support many low-code configuration tools, our time to value is very small, with some of our customers who even are able to get up and running in a matter of like 2 weeks. So the key takeaway is that with this partnership, businesses who already have Salesforce's popular customer support tools can further enhance their self-service solution specifically through Yext Search, which delivers direct answers to the complex questions that customers are asking you every day. And I'm going to turn it over to Henry now to talk about the app itself and then to get into those updates.
Thanks. I realized I was on mute.
Okay, good.
Thanks for that. Taking a step back, I just want to spend some time talking about what our Salesforce integration is at a 1,000-foot view. Our integration is actually two parts. It's a data source that supports a variety of different data connectors to get your Salesforce data into Yext. And it's a front-end integration app that's listed on the Salesforce App Exchange that helps you, once you've built that Yext search experience, you can place that Yext search experience wherever you want in Salesforce. If you're more of a visual learner, this is a flowchart I like to use. You take your data from Salesforce, in this instance, Service Cloud, you sync it to the Yext knowledge graph. Once it's there, you can build a Yext Answers search experience, which we've made incredibly easy via the free trial, which I'll talk about later on in this presentation. And then once you've built your search experience, you can layer that experience on top of any of your Salesforce products. Our core solutions are Agent Desktop Search, Help Site Search, and Case Form Deflection. So now let's get into a demo. The first thing I want to chat about with our demo is the data ingestion part, where I talked about syncing your data from Salesforce into Yext. And to make this even easier, the V2 of our Salesforce integration has made two specific updates. The first is that we now have a native Salesforce source that's present in your Yext platform. And what this Salesforce source does is allows you to link your Salesforce account and then fetch any account object from that account and create entities in Yext. I want to reemphasize that we're not limited to just knowledge articles like we were before, or cases or community posts. You can pull in any account object now into Yext and create them as entities. All you need to do is link your account in the configuration of your Salesforce or of your Yext instance, provide your Salesforce instance URL and the name of the object as it exists in Salesforce. And we can pull it in and map them to entities and their fields in Yext. Beyond, I mean, that's the most custom option we have, but if you would rather use our turnkey apps that are ready out of the box, you can also go to the Yext app directory, and you'll see here we have 3 pre-built data connectors to pull in B2B Commerce Cloud objects, cases, as well as knowledge articles. And all you need to do here is you can click on them. I've already installed this knowledge article connector, but you'll click install, provide your instance URL, link your Salesforce account, and get up and running with that data in your Yext platform. Also, I just want to emphasize that as we go, please feel free to post questions in the Q&A or in the chat. I'll be monitoring both of those. So if it makes most sense to ask your question during, I'm happy to answer them. So that is data into Yext. Now let's talk about what our front-end integration updates are. The first is not particularly visual, but our new Salesforce app now supports the entire Force.com suite of clouds. Now, this notably excludes the digital marketing cloud and B2C commerce, but it does include, you can imagine, Sales Cloud or B2C commerce. So you can now get Yext in any of these Salesforce clouds. The second thing, which you're noticing on your screen right now, is we have a new and improved admin UI. Previously, I don't know if anybody on this call has previously installed the Yext app, but you had to set up, you had to go back into the Salesforce setup, configure custom metadata types, CSP trusted sites. Now you can configure the entire app from this very easy to navigate point and click admin UI. Not only does this allow you to configure your components incredibly easily, but it also gives you the flexibility to use different Yext search experiences with your different instances of search. So if you'd like one search on help site and a different search on case deflection, we can accommodate that now. I'll be looping back to this admin UI as I go through the features, but that will be one of the first things you see when you download the app from the App Exchange. The only change that we've made, moving over to Experience Cloud for a minute, the only change that we made to our help site search and case deflection search, i.e. our experience builder components, is the fact that these components now support authorized search. Again, this isn't very visual to demo, but what this means is that using Yext authorized search, you can now secure your production URL and only allow people with certain either Salesforce permission sets or usernames or emails or profiles to view not only the entire experience, but you can curate which entities they see in that search experience. So if I say have a different permission set to Ali, we can run the exact same search, and based on how your Yext platform is configured, we might see totally different results. Say if I have permission to more articles than Ali does. This is increasingly impactful, you can imagine, for an agent experience, since a lot of times we're seeing a lot of demand in market for brands to ingest their case data, their history of case data to search against it. Previously, that production URL wasn't necessarily secure. So if somebody had it, they could view that sensitive customer information. But now we have a way to secure the entire production URL. So you're only allowed to search it if you have that said permission set or profile. Otherwise, this is help site search. You're likely very familiar with what it looks like, and I'll touch on case deflection very quickly. Just as a refresher, our case deflection app picks up the subject line as it's typed in on the left-hand side. So even if a user doesn't engage with the search bar here, how to add a custom field. As soon as I click out of that subject line, we're going to automatically run a search on it and display answers. The idea, of course, being hopefully to deflect this query before it becomes a case. So moving on from our experience builder components, I'll touch briefly on our agent desktop component, which actually received the bulk of the updates. This is now an example of a case view for an agent. You can see you've got the feed on the left-hand side, details below, and I've added Yext search at the top right here. And again, this isn't a configuration webinar, but adding these components is incredibly easy. On the case page, all you have to do is edit the page and drag and drop the Yext agent desktop lightning component wherever you'd like onto the page. What I first want to highlight in this component is the fact that we are auto searching based on the case subject line. Now, this is obviously a pretty powerful feature for your agents because they no longer have to go ahead and manually either copy and paste the subject line of the case or type it into the search bar. But what you'll notice is we also have comma answers here. And what that is actually we now have the ability to search multiple fields on the case at once. And this is completely configurable in the admin UI. So if I jump over here to Agent Desktop under the field selection header, you'll see this search trigger section. And this is where I can dictate which fields on the case I want to auto search against. Now, generally, we tend to think that the subject line is actually sufficient in most cases, but depending on how you've set up your Yext search experience, let's say, for example, you've got a facet set on the product category of the case. You can now add that product category, and here I pick the engineering number, to the auto search, and you can trigger that filter or that facet on the front end completely automatically. So you have complete customization over how you want to auto search on your cases. You can even auto search on custom fields as well. These aren't limited to the out of the box fields that the cases come with. So that is the first update. The second update I want to talk about, and in my opinion, one of the most exciting updates, is the new inclusion of result actions. So you can see we've auto searched off of the case subject line and the specific field. When I hover over this direct answer, you see a kebab on the right-hand side. And when I hover over the kebab, I see 5 different result actions to choose from. Now, we actually have 6 different result actions, but they are dynamically displayed based on where the Yext search component lives and the configuration of the Salesforce instance. But I'll just run through all of these really quickly. So obviously, you can copy the result link or the text to paste wherever you'd like, let's say outside of your Salesforce instance in your Slack, for example. You can also attach the result to case. So if I click, just to make it visual, if you click attach to case, you can see now we've got a new Yext case article with the result attached. You can attach it as a note. So one more note is going to display here. Or you can actually post the result, post the direct answer to Chatter. So other people in this case can view what's going on. And this doesn't just exist for direct answers. It exists for whatever cards you want it to exist for. I just want to note that setting this up is actually something that doesn't happen in Salesforce. It happens as you're setting up your search experience in Yext. It's a front end change. And all we've done is configured it to now this front end change in Yext to speak to Salesforce. But as was with most things with this app, it's incredibly easy to configure. I mentioned 6 result actions. You only saw 5. The 6th is actually post to chat. And the reason it's not displaying here is because we're not on a live chat view for an agent. But let's say your agent was speaking live with somebody. They would have the option to post the result to chat. And let's say, for example, you didn't have notes enabled in your Salesforce instance. Attach as note would not be an option that's available in these dropdowns. So the component's intelligent. It knows where you are in Salesforce, where the component lives. The next and last 2 changes we made to our agent desktop component is the inclusion of related cases and related knowledge. Now, related cases and related knowledge are ways that Salesforce admins can use the power of Yext search, but also keep the native front end that their users may be used to in Salesforce. So what related cases is going to do is going to search all of your Salesforce cases that exist in Yext and display just those cases in a very native Salesforce view. So it's running the same search that the Yext search ran here. It's just displaying the case that's maybe relevant to this query in a very native Salesforce front end. So the query was how to set up a custom field type. Set up a custom field was an old case that was created. You can click on it, view the case here. It's just another nice way to search. And in terms of the front end, as with most things with our new app, it's completely customizable. So here I've done the case ID, the subject, the status, and the created date. But if I actually want to change which fields to display on the front end, I can go in here, add, remove, reorder these fields to whatever makes the most sense for your brand. Additionally, you probably noticed related knowledge as well. This is for those Salesforce knowledge articles that are also returning in your Yext search. So we've got two knowledge articles here, add custom fields and add custom field types. Note that these results are also still showing up in Yext search. It's just another way to view the same content. So those are the bulk of the updates that we made to Agent Desktop. The next thing to touch on briefly is viewing its enhanced analytics living in Salesforce. And what that means is previously you saw me attach a result to a case. We can now report on all of those actions that are taking place natively in Salesforce. And so this is what I mean. Each row in this instance is a case where a Yext result has been attached to the case. And so this gives a Salesforce admin visibility onto what was the subject of the case. I mean, Salesforce reporting is obviously pretty customizable, but this fake report pulls in the subject of the case, the title of the results that was attached to that case, who did it. You can pull in when they did it. So you can get even more granularity onto how your agents are interacting with your cases using Yext. And one further thing on the note of analytics is the inclusion across all of our sub-solutions, Help Site Search, Case Deflection, Agent Desktop, the inclusion of query source so that you can now separate out these analytics in terms of what queries are taking place in Help Site versus which queries are taking place in Agent Desktop and Case Deflection. You can separate these all out in Yext. And so now out of the box in your Yext instance, you will get 3 separate dashboards: Agent Desktop, Help Site, and Case Deflection, which will separate out all the analytics based on where they're taking place. Previously, all the analytics would come back and they would be jumbled if they were based on the same Yext search experience. Even if you are using the same Yext search experience across all of your different integrations, both in Help Site and Case Deflection, and maybe Agent Desktop, we can still delineate which searches and clicks and actions are taking place in which setting, which is really helpful if you're a Power Yext Analytics user. And obviously these insights and dashboards are completely customizable. It's just what we give you out of the box. And then the last thing I want to close on is, as part of the app, we've also included just a custom Visualforce tab. Now you can view Yext wherever you are in Salesforce. And so this is just, there's no fancy bells or whistles. It's just your search experience, whichever one you decide. You can stick it into a custom Visualforce tab out of the box. Again, this is set up in the admin UI under custom tab, incredibly easy. And yeah. So I ran through very, very quickly all of the new features that we've added to the front end integration, as well as the updates we've made to data ingestion. I'm going to pause now. I see a couple of questions in the Q&A, which I can answer, so I'll let people ask them. But just to get started, I see a question: do these components only work with Lightning? Currently, the answer is yes. All of our components are only compatible with Lightning, with the exception of this custom Visualforce tab. This is something that can be created in Salesforce Standard, but nothing else can be. So you really need to be on Lightning to get the most out of this app. Another question, which properties on the user can be used for auth search? I assume that is in relation to my first point about authorized search on help site, case deflection, and agent desktop. So that's a really good question. I just go back to help site here. So authorized search is a relatively complicated concept, and we have a lot of resources to help guide you in how to set it up and what it actually looks like. But again, just to reiterate, what it's doing is it's taking the user's permission set, if it exists, and passing it to the Yext search experience. So the Yext search experience knows which results to display, if any. The properties that are passed to Yext are the username, the user profile, the user role, and the user permission sets. So as long as one or more of those properties are also configured on the entity in Yext, Yext will know that a user with one of those properties, if it matches the entity in Yext, will be able to view the content. Again, I'm incredibly oversimplifying this concept, but those are the 4 properties that is passed from a user to the Yext search experience. We have a data ingestion question. Which data types can I pull in? So I mentioned at the very start, but with the new Salesforce source, you can pull in any account object from Salesforce to Yext. And again, I just want to reemphasize that's even custom objects. You don't need to rely on the out-of-the-box Salesforce objects. Will the case I'm on appear in related cases? That's another really good, thoughtful question, actually. So that question is related to the related cases tab. If I'm on setup custom fields, and that case got ingested by Yext and is now surfacing on the search results, will it also show up in the related cases tab? The answer is no. Our component is smart enough to know that if you're on the case setup custom field, we don't also want to show it as a result in related cases. Even though it does surface in the Yext production URL iframe, the related cases component knows not to surface the case that you're on in this component. Do the options on each search result in agent desktop, the result actions, copy result link, etc., also appear on the search results in other tabs besides all, i.e. help articles, Salesforce, cases? Sarah, do you mean also appear on the search results in the other tabs besides all? Do you mean the other tabs within the Yext, these tabs, or do you mean the related cases and all? Yeah, these tabs. They do. Yep, those are front-end changes you make within your Yext search experience. They're made. I don't know how familiar you are with our. I don't know how familiar you are with our Jambo, with our theme, but you actually make these changes to the cards in the code editor. So they will also show up under the help articles vertical and the Salesforce cases vertical. Yeah. Okay. Okay, I think that is all the questions we have. I'll let people think for a couple seconds if they want to ask any more, but these were the features I just ran through. It's not particularly visually appealing to look at. We've done Q&A. Next steps. The first thing we want you to do is go and start a free trial of our Salesforce integration. I suppose you all are going to get this presentation after the fact, but I think the URL is yext.com/try/Salesforce Service Cloud. If you go to this URL, you'll be able to set up a free account and test drive the integration, which we highly suggest that you do. You can also view our listing on the App Exchange and test drive the app for yourself. I just want to emphasize here, we haven't yet updated the test drive, and we're waiting to flip the switch to make our new integration live on the App Exchange. So that may be 24, 48 hours before we do that. But definitely watch out for follow-up communications there. And then it's always great to plug our guide. So this is the new and improved Integrating Yext Search with Salesforce Service Cloud guide. It is updated for all the new features we just spoke about. So if you have any questions, this would be your first place to look for help. And that is it. I don't see any more questions. Thank you everyone for joining. Do we have to Sarah's last question. Do we have to reinstall if we already have Yext installed in Salesforce? Yeah, there'll be an option, Sarah, to, I suppose it'll say update the app. We don't auto update the app. We don't push those changes to your instance already. You'll have to go to the App Exchange and reinstall it because it's now a completely different configuration. But hopefully much easier to integrate if you integrated our last app. So yeah. That is all I had. Thank you so much to everyone for joining. And if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out either in the community or honestly to me via email. My email is hkramer@yext.com. And we're looking forward to helping you get the most out of Yext in Salesforce. Goodbye.